Welcome to the latest edition of Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz, joined by Vinny Tickets, back from his vacation, all tanned up after a nice sunny trip down to South Florida. We welcome you back to the studio.
Thanks for having me back, Peter.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I didn't get Wally pipped.
You did not get Wally pipped by WizKid Vinny last week, although there could be another opportunity. We're going to have a high-level meeting about it after the show, about another potential fill-in role, but we're going to talk about that at another time. We have an action-packed show. Don't forget, all of our episodes drop on YouTube on Friday, and we air on linewsradio.com on Saturday mornings from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. Want to tell you the 2024 Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony will take place at Flower Field in St. James on May 30th at 6 o'clock. In studio with us is the president of the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame. He is Chris Vaccaro. Chris, always good to see you, my friend.
Always good to be here. I'm happy to chat about this year's class.
Well, welcome to the show and welcome in studio. So give us a little synopsis. It is a star-studded class of 2024. In fact, there is one person on that class that I happen to work with sometimes. So why don't you give us a little sneak preview of the list of people that are in this year's Hall of Fame class?
So many big names and so many local names. I can't even list them all, obviously. We could spend a whole hour going through. But Keith Hernandez, the Mets legend who's had a home in Sag Harbor for decades, is
and by the way,
highlight.
WizKid Vinny later on in the show is going to have a little feature on Keith Hernandez being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Perfect. I like that. Danny Green. Grew up in North Babylon, NBA veteran, multi-NBA champion, wrapping up his career. He's going to be there. Chris Wingert, an MLS star who's now working for Rock Nation on the agency side of things with Jay-Z.
He played a short time with NYCFC as well.
Yeah, and spent most of his career in Real Salt Lake. Mm-hmm. Then you have local names. Well, Greg Giannotti. I can't pass over your radio buddy. I was going to go into the local names.
And Gio would be upset if we didn't mention his name on the air.
Yeah, and honestly, well-deserved from Gio, who's on the biggest sports talk show in the world, as far as I'm concerned, and he's a Bellport boy, and we're excited. We broke that news at the Paramount in the special Boomer and Geo special they had.
Yeah, right before I got covered in marshmallow fluff.
Right, I saw you out there. That was a fun night.
But there is one name, of course, that you did not mention, and that brings us to our second guest during the segment that is on the phone, and one of the members of this year's class is you cannot talk about either college or high school football on Long Island, not just Suffolk County, but all of Long Island, without mentioning the name Brian Collins. And Brian was a legendary coach for many, many years at CW Post, won championship after championship with the Pioneers, and then guided that program to the Division I level, where they are now as the LIU Sharks. And on the line with us to talk about it, unfortunately, we lost Brian not too long ago, and accepting this Hall of Fame induction posthumously will be his family, and we want to welcome into the show his son, Tyler Collins. Tyler, it's Peter, Vinny, and actually Chris in studio as well. Thanks for joining us for a few minutes.
Hey, thank you, Peter, Vinny, and obviously thank you, Chris, as well, for the induction and everything that we've had, all the conversations we've had, and including my family in the process. It's been great, and it's an honor. So thank you, Chris, and thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. Obviously, it's been a tough year, for your family. It was so sad to hear about your dad. He was such a good man, and I got to know him, very well over the last couple of years. And what does it mean to you and your family to have your dad honored this year by the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's a great honor. Of course, the list of names that come along with the Suffolk County Hall of Fame is tremendous, and especially this year, there's some things that make it a little more special. I know Keith Hernandez my dad was a big fan of Keith Hernandez, and the Mets. He grew up in Queens, so he grew up watching Keith and Darryl Strawberry and those guys, and then Gio, is great too. Name being on there, we used to watch. Me and my dad would share a couple laughs, obviously listening to Boomer Gio in the morning. He would be driving out the post, have a long drive, and he'd turn on the fan, and I'd be driving to work, and I'd obviously turn on the fan. We'd always give each other a call when we, heard something we liked and stuff like that. So listening, going in with Gio.
Was it at any time when they said something at my expense?
No, not at your expense. For sure. My dad is pretty old school. Him and Boomer are very similar in their takes and their, and their views on certain things. So, it was very, it's always great to hear him talk and hear those two chat about sports and whatnot. And we live, we also live a block away from Gio, from Giannotti. I don't know if he knew that, but we live on Hanson Avenue, and we're over a block away from Gio in Sayville.
When you think about the imprint and the footprint that your dad left on Long Island football, with what how the players still all these years later, talk about what your dad meant to them, not just on the football field and guiding them to so many wins over the years, but to this day, so many of them, and I talked to some of them that are still living on Long Island, the Jeremiah Popes of the world and the Mike Shanahans of the world, and all those guys who have played for your dad. When you hear people talk about your father and you think about what your dad meant to football on Long Island, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's almost been therapeutic to hear the stories from all these guys, like you said, Jeremiah Popes and all these guys that my dad's had an impact on. Them, I can't almost go a day without somebody talking to me about my dad still and what he meant to them and the opportunity that he gave them and all that. So it's been very helpful for me and my family to hear these stories and hear what he's meant to other people. It's made me feel very lucky, myself, obviously being his son and raising me the way he did, and the impact he had on me was very similar to the impact that he had on a lot of his players, and just hearing that over and over from all the guys, and obviously me going to LA Post as well and playing for him and experiencing that. I have hundreds and hundreds of teammates that I experienced that with as well, and just having all those guys there and the Long Island football community there for me and my family has been a big help for us getting through this time. And like you said, the wins and the championships and the Coach of the Year awards and all that kind of stuff is great. But what I think the most important thing for me, at least, his legacy to move on is the opportunity that he gave to Long Island football players, because nobody did it like he did it. And if you go back to the old LIU Post Pioneers website, not the new LIU website, but the old one, if you look at that last 2018 Division II season that we had, undefeated and going to the NCAA playoffs, we had 64 players from Long Island on that roster. You can't really find that anywhere else. Obviously there are other colleges doing great things for Long Island and stuff for sure, but 64 players from Long Island, it was really the heart and soul of our team, and it's sad to see that there's not another college right now that's really taking that role. So that's the thing that means the most to me is the impact he's had on and the opportunity that he gave so many Long Island football players for sure.
Chris, when you think of Tyler's dad, when you think of Brian Collins, what was it about him? What made his election to the Hall of Fame this year so pertinent and so important, and obviously a no-brainer?
The impact on the hundreds and thousands of lives over many decades, right? And especially on Long Island, across both Nassau and Suffolk, the way that he is respected, as Tyler's explaining, the way that so many people were touched by him as a coach, as a mentor, as a teacher, as an athletic administrator. He did a lot of things, and when you work that long in a position like that, it matters. And I especially care about the folks who make an impact and really inspire the next generation. You look at his coaching tree, how many of his players are now coaching and doing things in the game? It's also immense.
So when you talk about the event on May 30th at Flower Field in St. James at 6 o'clock, how can people get tickets? Are there still tickets available, and what can people expect when they come to the event that night?
Yeah, you can go to SuffolkSportsHOF.com. Tickets, it's written all over there. Obviously, you can follow us on any of the social platforms, and ticket links are posted almost every day. Tickets are still available. They'll usually be available up until the last minute, honestly, because the attendance in the facility can be pretty high, and we're expecting a really big crowd this year. Tickets are going out every day, but they're available. So SuffolkSportsHOF.com.
How many people will you be inducting that day?
It's around 20.
20
total.
Is that a bigger than normal class? Is it usually right around that number?
Since I took over in 2017, my goal was to expand it to around that number the last few years. That's been the average. Years ago, and the Hall of Fame is almost 34 years old, you might have 5 people. I think there's a lot more deserving people than 5 or 10 every year that we want to honor. So
it's interesting that you talk about it, and Vinny brings that up. Is that remember a few years ago, the Pro Football Hall of Fame? I remember their former president David Baker talking about that there was a backlog of a lot of players that didn't make, and they had that centennial class where they invited like a whole bunch of people in. Do you feel like there's a backlog, that there's some people that might have been overlooked over the last couple of years?
Yeah, there was, and I'm trying to make up for that because of the lower quantities in the 90s and early 2000s.
Awesome. Chris Vaccaro, the president of the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame. Don't forget, it's May 30th at 6 o'clock. And Tyler Collins, the son of legendary football coach Brian Collins. Tyler, thank you also for spending a few minutes with us here on Sports Bash this week.
Hey, absolutely, and congratulations to your son. I'm looking forward to listening to his commitment tomorrow on Boomer and Geo.
A lot of people are not telling where he's going yet. You'll have to tune in. But thanks to Chris and thanks to Tyler. When we come back on Sports Bash, we're going to talk about that Rangers ticket controversy from the Stadium Series game against the Islanders with the person who was affected by it. We're also going to have Whiz Kid Vinny with a look at Keith Hernandez going into the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame, and we've got a New York Mets ticket giveaway. It is all coming up when Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com, rolls on right after this. Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz, joined as always by Vinny Tickets. Again, we thank our first two guests on the show, Chris Vaccaro and Tyler Collins, for joining us. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to talk about that Rangers Stadium Series ticket controversy. That is coming up in a moment. We're also going to have our Mets ticket giveaway. But first, here is Whiz Kid Vinny with a look at Keith Hernandez getting inducted into the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame.
Hi, Peter. Hi, Vinny. I hope you guys had a great week, and I'm honored today to talk about the headliner for the 2024 Suffolk Sports Hall of Fame class, former first baseman and longtime broadcaster Keith Hernandez. Keith started his career with the St. Louis Cardinals, highlighted by his 1979 season when he won the batting title and won the MVP alongside Willie Stargell of the Pittsburgh Pirates. In 1982, a couple years later, he won the World Series with the Cardinals, defeating the Milwaukee Brewers in 7 games. And the following year, mid-season, in 1983, he was traded to the New York Mets, where he later became the captain and led the team to a 1986 World Series victory against the Boston Red Sox, also in 7 games. Keith finished his career with the Cleveland Indians in 1990, and by that time, he amassed 5 All-Star appearances, 2 Silver Sluggers, an MVP, 2 World Series championships, and a record amount of Gold Gloves by a first baseman, 11. Because of that, he is considered the greatest defensive first baseman in the history of Major League Baseball. Following his playing career, he would spend, to this very day, alongside Gary Cohn and Ron Darling in the broadcast booth for SNY covering New York Mets games. He finally got his number 17 jersey retired by the team in 2022 and was also inducted into their Hall of Fame as well as the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame. I think he's very much deserving of Cooperstown. I think you guys would agree with that also. But until he makes it, the people of St. Louis for the Cardinals, the people of New York for the Mets, and finally, the people of Suffolk County, New York, we will always call him a Hall of Famer forever.
All right, Vinny, thanks. Great job on that. Not only do I think Keith Hernandez should be in Cooperstown, I think Don Mattingly of the Yankees should be in Cooperstown, and I think they should both go in together. What do you think about that?
That's a great idea.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? Yes. You had all of New York descending on Cooperstown, and I would like to see Thurman Munson in too, but that's a story for another day. Yeah. Next up, our weekly ticket giveaway. It is almost baseball season, so Vinny, we've got a Mets ticket giveaway.
Yes, we do. So the New York Mets, what we'll be giving away is 2 tickets in the lower level. And Peter, what date did we decide on for that?
April 16th against the Pirates at Citi Field, and we are changing the way that we're doing the contest.
Absolutely. All you have to do is follow us on social media this week. You follow us, you're entered into the contest to win 2 lower level tickets. That's at Sports Bash Media. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Give a follow.
And Instagram too.
And Instagram,
yes.
Yeah. And you'll automatically be entered into the contest to win 2 tickets to the Mets-Pirates game, and those will be lower level seats. They're going to be great seats.
Great seats. There's not a bad seat in the house at Citi Field.
Agreed.
Speaking of seats, there was a controversy for the February 18th Rangers-Islanders Stadium Series game at MetLife Stadium. Anthony Dos Santos is a Ranger fan from Newark, New Jersey. He and his family had tickets to the game, 8 tickets. They got jerseys, they got all the garb and everything to go to the game. They get to MetLife Stadium, they cannot get in. A whole situation ensued. And joining us on the show is Anthony Dos Santos. Anthony, it is Peter and Vinny. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us to talk about what had happened a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Well, we're doing great. Obviously, you and your family are still reeling from that terrible experience that you had at MetLife Stadium. Can you kind of sum up what exactly happened, what the MetLife Stadium people told you about your 8 tickets, and what Ticketmaster and the Rangers might be doing for you as a result of this?
Yeah, of course. First, I just want to say I appreciate the time on and the ability to tell my story. It was a hard day for us. Basically, what had happened was we, bought the tickets in October. We are, I would call us super fans at this point. We've been fans since I can remember. I got the 8 tickets on Ticketmaster. Bought the ticket insurance as well, just to make sure that we would not have any issues going to this game, because it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and we knew that.
Mm-hmm.
We get to the gates probably 30 minutes before game time after tailgating for like 3 hours in the parking lot. Pretty cold weather. Super excited to go in. We get to the front of the gates, and the lady starts scanning the tickets and tells us to step to the side and tells me that our tickets are not scanning. So at first I thought she was joking, because obviously, when you buy something from Ticketmaster, you expect it to be secure. It's, they advertise as the most secure ticket site. It's not a resold ticket. It's not StubHub or a guy in the parking lot selling it.
Now, was it all 8 tickets that didn't scan, Anthony?
Yeah, all 8 tickets
All 8.
scan. Yeah. And, at first I thought she was kidding. So I'm like, I started laughing, and she's like, I'm serious. They're not scanning. So I'm like, what does that mean? I wasn't upset right away. I just couldn't understand why or how it could even be possible that could happen. So long story short, she ended up calling a couple people over, and we spent the next hour and a half debating on how it's possible that the tickets weren't scanning. Once I realized that they were serious and they weren't going to let us in, it became more of an argument with how is this possible when you spend $2,000 expecting to see your team to not get in the game.
At any point during the conversation, was anybody on site from Ticketmaster? Was there anybody from a ticket standpoint that was there, or this was strictly MetLife Stadium staff they were not letting you into the building?
Yeah, this was MetLife Stadium. I mean, they didn't really help much. They kind of just told me they couldn't do anything about it. I asked to speak to a manager. A manager came down, tried to call Ticketmaster. I wasn't able to reach them at the moment. So I was kind of focused on just the MetLife staff, because in my mind, I'm thinking, they're the people that work here. They could get me in this game if they really want to get me in this game.
So Anthony, just let me bring Vinny in here, because Vinny is the CEO of Ticketbash.com. What should have happened here for Anthony and his family?
Well, did they direct you? Did they have a ticket window on location? Did they direct you to a ticket window? Because just for our listeners, kind of like a PSA, that if any of our listeners or followers ever deal with this issue, the very first thing that you should do is go to the ticket window or the ticket booth, because they do have access to the tickets in that ticket window, and they should have been able to see that those tickets were in fact registered to you and to your email address. And that's regardless of where you are, whether it's a sporting event, a concert, theater. Their systems all show you exactly who the owner of those tickets were. So did they direct you to a ticket window at that point?
Yeah, so we spent about 40 minutes with me just showing them everything that they possibly could need to prove that these are my tickets. I showed them my bank account statement from the day I bought them, the actual tickets like in my account, the tickets on my phone, all of the above, my ticket insurance, proof that I didn't sell them. And at that point, they did direct me to a ticket booth. It was one lady. I went to speak with her, and at this point, I'm obviously super animated, because now it's been 45 minutes. I'm hearing the Islanders score goals, the Rangers score goals. So now I'm like, all right, I might as well not even go to this game now, because this game's half over. So now I'm already upset. So when I got to the booth, the lady could tell I was upset. And first thing she said to me was like, calm down, sir. You don't need to be yelling. And I explained to her, I'm like, ma'am, I am not upset with you. I promise. I was like, I'm just very upset at this whole situation. Mm-hmm. Can you please help me? And out of everybody at MetLife Stadium, she was the least helpful.
Oh, jeez.
She
Anthony,
had such a bad attitude.
we only have a couple of,
believe it.
I'm sorry, Anthony. We only have a couple minutes left, and I wanted to make sure we get to this. I know that you had told me off the air the Rangers are going to do something for you. Can you share yet what the Rangers are going to do for you out of this entire mess?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, after this all happened, I took to social media and basically aired out my frustrations, and it took off. I didn't expect this many people to reach out to me, and obviously the New York Rangers got wind of it. They were one of the first people to reach out to me, and I really appreciate them, and I appreciate Ticketmaster for correcting the mistake.
They refunded you? Did they refund your money?
Yeah, so Ticketmaster refunded me the money. They were in contact with the New York Rangers and the NHL, and the Rangers basically told me that with the assistance of Ticketmaster, they're going to get us to a game on March 26th against the Philadelphia Flyers in the lower bowl, and that they were going to have surprises for us during the game. So
good for the Rangers. Good on the Rangers for taking care of the class organization.
Really appreciate them. I always, obviously being a fan for a long time, you hear the stories about them being one of the best organizations in the NHL when it comes to this kind of stuff, and it's good to see that they care about their fans all the way from the celebrity fans down to the fans that they don't know.
Yeah. So Anthony, was your group mixed, Ranger fans and Islander fans, or?
No, it was only Ranger fans. I don't know if that had something to do with it. Maybe they were Islander fans at the gate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It was,
I, as an Islander fan, Anthony, I'm not taking any criticism for that. I had nothing to do with it.
I'm so sorry for your loss with that, but I can't help you there.
Well, listen, Anthony, it was obviously we feel terrible about what happened to your family that day. I'm so happy that the Rangers are taking care of this and that financially you were taken care of. And I hope you have a great time at that Rangers game, and I hope the Rangers do come up with some great surprises for you and your family that night.
Absolutely. I appreciate it so much. And before I go, just wanted to say one more appreciation and thank you from the bottom of my heart and my family for all the people that supported us, including you guys, giving me that call and allowing me to, share my story in the hockey community, for really backing me up and making things right. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Those 3 words you guys like to chant at the Garden, that are LGR, I can't do that. So just know that's out of respect. I can't do that. But I hope you have a great time at the game that night.
Thank you so much. I'll make sure that you guys know I'm there. Trust me.
Thanks. Anthony Dos Santos, a Ranger fan, and his family from Newark, New Jersey. Thanks to our other guests on the show, Chris Vaccaro and Tyler Collins. For Vinny Tickets, I'm Peter Schwartz. Thanks for listening and watching this edition of Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com. We'll catch you again next time.